Thank you for coming to my Splice Script talk. As you can see from the slides, it's very exciting. Made the right choice coming here. Let's go. So I'm Dustin Dettmer. I work on the Lightning protocol, primarily on splicing. That's me. No, demon's a different word. If you mix up the E and the A, it becomes demon. I use daemon to make it harder for people to spell, so they can't find me on Twitter. It works pretty well. But daemon's also a coding concept that actually core Lightning uses quite a lot of. Okay, so what is SpliceScript? Before I tell you the meat and potatoes, it's about building for the future. So SpliceScript, like today, isn't necessarily all that. Most of the benefits of SpliceScript come in the future. And mostly it's about doing block space optimized stuff and trying to build towards that world. And today, today fee rates are low. If you're trying to do the halving, of course, they were crazy high. But the way we get there is having more transactions be interactive. So today, people usually will make a Bitcoin transaction, and then they'll put it on chain, and that's sort of it. To optimize block space, we need to join more of these together. So the more stuff we can put in one transaction, the more efficient we are on the blockchain. So, and I wrote that there, yeah, so you can see it. Problem is that it's hard. Even Midjourney agrees that it's hard. Look how hard that photo looks. It's hard to do. It's possible. So like with splicing, splicing works now. All the base layer stuff is there, but trying to coordinate a splice, say, with someone else's splice and maybe with a channel open or something and some other on-chain activity, it gets really unwieldy fast for people to do. So you can do it, but you have to really want to. And with SpliceScript, doing all of that becomes super easy. That's the promise. And you can see Satoshi signed off on it. So that's good. Okay, so why does it matter? We covered some of this. One day transaction fees will be very high. We want to be ready for that. Merging transactions will make it better. And SpliceScript makes managing transactions that are merged really easy. The other thing that we can do is this SpliceScript will enable us to merge with external transactions generally more easily. So one thing you can join with is like a coin join, although those are apparently going away now. But that actually is more of an opportunity for this than a pitfall, because the reason coin joins are going away is because they're all centralized. And a lot of this gives us the building blocks to build decentralized coin joins, which is pretty exciting. Anyway, that's why it matters. You get all the benefits of splicing in an easy package. So I've been working for a long time on getting the nuts and bolts of splicing going. And now this is the usability layer to make it easy to do stuff. So we covered, it makes the doing splices now is a little unwieldy the bigger they get. People have to move PSPTs around, which a lot of people, it sounds simple in practice, but in order to do this correctly, you have to have PSPTs where you're modifying the inputs and outputs in real time. That's a little difficult. Using a Splice script, you can specify very clearly what it is you want to do. And then also, once we have it in a unified place, we can use the Splice solver to do it in the optimal way possible. So there's a lot of ways you could do large, complicated merge splices and shoot yourself in the foot, particularly with maliciously added inputs and knowing which ones to sign or not sign. We're not going to go too much in detail about that. But the point is, using this infrastructure with the Splice script and the Splice solver behind it, you get all the guarantees you would hope for in doing one of these. And you can also, an important big one is that a lot of people today that are using Lightning to live off of, they'll have their on-chain funds, and when they want to move it to Lightning, it's a simple problem, and yet it's everywhere. They'll move it onto their Lightning on-chain wallet, and then from there they'll open a channel into Lightning. So they end up doing two transactions, essentially doubling their transaction fees. And using some of the SpliceScript stuff makes that particular problem a lot easier to go directly from your funds and your cold storage directly into a Lightning channel. So that's kind of an obvious, easy win we can get from this. And that really boils down to making it easier for people to do that. All right. Feature things it could fix. we have people building their own non-centralized coin joins, which I think is ever present. I think Samurai announced today they're shutting down their coin join. Not Wasabi did. Samurai is obviously being prosecuted by the government. Centralized coin joins seem to be a target for governments generally. So if we can move to non-centralized coin joins, that's pretty exciting. Not that this does this by itself, but it's the building blocks that allow it to be possible. A future thing that I'm excited about related to this is moving from a transaction model to a transaction intention model, which we'll cover a little more later. Also, if you have any questions, if you're confused, please jump in with the question. I don't want anyone to be lost here. Yes. Yeah. Oh, great. Potentially, yes. Yes, absolutely. And there's also some benefits besides just coordination. Often with coin joins, you have this problem of what's called toxic change that happens. And with Lightning, it's pretty easy to just bundle that into an existing channel. So you end up with less change output generally, which helps in a lot of cases. Do you have a question? Oh, okay. Awesome. Is there a question over here? Yes. Which part? So that's in a future release. If you just keep waiting, it should come. 6 to 8 weeks, depending. We're describing here as an intimate marriage of Lightning channels and on-chain transactions, which is what this solves generally, is combining the managing of Lightning channels with on-chain stuff. That's the idea. And it's built with extensibility in mind. So the specs can easily support new things that come along, taproot channels. We're going to add opening channels and other things to be added to it as more things come along. All right, so how does it fix it? SpliceScript is a standard syntax for clearly and concisely specifying all that stuff. So the goal is make one simplified language to do all that. And the goal is to make it easy and elegant such that people can, the simpler you make something to use, the more sophisticated people will use it. Is the theory here. So if, say, doing a splice, just a simple, say, splice out, one of the simplest splices you could do, if that requires you to do half a dozen commands and manage a couple PSBTs, people will just do it less often. And with that, for that example, it's a one-liner with SpliceScript. Yes? You're absolutely right. You caught me. Yeah. I called it Splice Script, but it's growing to be so much more than just splicing. That maybe it should be called the Everything Script, but that's a bad name. So I'm sticking with Splice Script for now. Okay, and the more we get people using it, the less block space we'll be using, which will benefit those people with lower fees, but also benefits everyone out there using Bitcoin by lowering fees generally, and just from an engineering perspective, more efficiently using the block space. Okay, so we've been talking a lot about the pros and cons, what it's for. Let's get into what it looks like. So here are a couple examples. Don't have to understand them yet, but this is generally what it looks like. With the camera, can I move over here, or does it go off camera if I do that? Okay, cool. So basically, the main way it works is you have channel identifiers and then amounts. And so we have a splice out example, a splice in, some cross-channel splices. And we'll go more into detail here, so you've got to study it yet. This gives you a sense of what it looks like. And the idea is you write out these scripts, and then you put them into into your Lightning node, and it just goes and does all of the stuff for you. It does all the work to make it happen. All right. We'll go through some examples one by one. First, any questions about all that so far? Yes? It's for the user, but also for people doing front ends. So if you're doing RTL, you'd probably want to use something like this. And there's a benefit there in the middle layer where if you want to get people building Lightning front ends like RTL to support splicing, if I make it easier for them to do it, I feel like they're more likely to do it, and they can focus on making a good UI and less on managing this complex stuff. The could only be one. No, there definitely is a JSON format for all of this. What the script Splice compiler, Splice Script compiler does is it actually compiles this into the JSON format and then uses it. So yeah, there's both ways. Okay, we're going to go through some examples, and please jump in with any questions. I'm hoping we can all understand SpliceScript after this. It should be simple, fingers crossed. Okay, so here's an example of a splice out. Probably the simplest thing you can do. We have in the beginning of a channel identifier. Normally those are quite long, but we've shortened it. So in the SpliceScript, you can use the first chunk of a channel, and it'll auto-complete it to the full channel identifier, checking for collisions. And this will take out 10,000 sats from the channel, which will go by default into your on-chain wallet. Okay, who here knows what a splice out is? Okay, maybe I should describe that. We got a half wave, maybe half the room. That's exciting. By default, yes, and that can be changed. Okay, so just a quick primer on what splice out is that before splicing, you generally have your funds either stored in your on-chain or cold storage or hot wallet, something like that. You also have them stored in Lightning, and they're stored separately. And the way you traditionally move funds into Lightning or out is you have to open a channel or close one. And splicing enables you to keep a channel that exists and move funds in and out of it at will. And that's what the term splice means. So when we say splice out, what we mean is we're taking funds out of the Lightning channel and bringing them back to your standard on-chain wallet. All right, now who knows what splicing is now? Okay, I got most of you, or you're lying, and for my benefit, thank you. Okay, so this is a splice out. In this example, we're taking 10,000 sats. If we can go through a splice in example, this puts 10,000 sats into a channel. This one won't actually work because you have to get the money from somewhere, right? If you could just invent sats, then Bitcoin would probably be broken. But the core idea is, since the number's on the left, it's pointing into the channel. It's kind of implying, hey, these sats are going into that channel. And the way we make that work is we got to get the funds from somewhere. There's a wallet operator. So if you just say wallet, take out 10,000 sats and say put 10,000 sats into that channel, lo and behold, we got the funds from somewhere, and now we have a splice in. All right. Is anyone feeling particularly confused right now? All right. Awesome. So this looks like it's 2 lines now, but it's still one script, and it looks pretty simple, but this actually won't work either because you have to pay for the on-chain fees. And so the way we specify on-chain fees is we pick where they're going to come from. So there's this other operator called the fee operator, and this just says, okay, when it builds the transactions, it'll determine what fee is required to publish it, and it will take out that much extra from the wallet to cover the fee. Another way to do it is to subtract the fee out, so we can move it over here and say, I just want to take 10,000 sats out of the wallet, but whatever you splice in, remove whatever the fee is from there. So in any on-chain transaction, the fee must come from somewhere, and this is how you control where it comes from and goes. So that's splicing in 10,000. And here's the same idea with splicing out, but we're being more explicit about it. So the original one, we can go back to splice out. This one was cheating a little bit, and we want to make it more explicit. We can add in, where to go here? Here. So here we're splicing 10,000 sats out of a channel, and then we're putting those 10,000 sats back into the wallet minus whatever the on-chain fee is. So the actual amount will be, 9,000 and something sats after the fee goes. Yes? It is included. So there's a special clause which I'm going to cover a little later. But the way it works is if there's ever a let me get to that because I'll get to that later in the talk. But I think there's a better way that I can get to it. It'll make it a little clearer for everyone else. Okay, so that's splicing out to your on-chain wallet. A little more interesting is if you wanted to splice out to someone else's directly to someone's address. And I think this is actually kind of a powerful idea. The idea being you can store your funds in Lightning, and if you want to make it on-chain payments, you could build a script like this and then pay funds to an on-chain address from Lightning directly. This is actually one of Satoshi's addresses, so you could, this is a donation to Satoshi. But you might notice there's a problem with this script. Does anyone besides Christian know what that problem is? No fees. Yes, there's no fees. So this transaction won't go because there'll be 0 fees and it won't be processed. So we fix it by tacking on a fee. And again, we can subtract the fee or add it, but we probably promised Satoshi would pay him 10,000 sats. So we're going to withdraw 10,000 plus the on-chain fee so he gets his full amount. It's a little bit of trickery. There's what I call the general script funds. So the top line is taking 10,000 sats out of one channel, but you could take 5 from 2 channels. So you could have multiple lines taking funds out.
Okay, so like on the right side of the top line, I would say 11,000.
Yeah.
And the bottom line, all of that. Oh, I see.
Yep, and then the miner fee is of the, say, 1,000 sats goes to the miners. The other way, which Christian was asking about to cover fees, is if you use percentages, then the fee will be automatically deducted out. So there's this concept of the general script funds, I call it. So on the top line, we're taking out a certain amount from that channel, putting it in the general script funds, and the bottom line takes all the general script funds. And if you don't specify a fee, the fee will automatically come out of there. So here we have 2 percentages. This bottom one is saying take all of the general script funds and move them into this channel over here. The top one is a little bit different. When the percentage is on the right side, what we're doing is say, of the available funds of that channel, take all of them. So this is not to be confused with the channel balance. This is how many sats you have available in that channel. In practice, you probably don't want to do this kind of script because you probably want to close the channel, not splice out all of the funds. You could try to do it, but you run into problems with reserve requirements, pending HTLCs. You'll never actually get all of your funds, just the available funds. So a more practical one would be something like this. Say I have a channel with a lot of funds in it, and I want to take out half of my sats in that channel and put them over here. This is a more like reasonable script. So this is a cross splice. Yes. In this format, it'll be 50%, and then the fee will come out. The bottom line here will be. Do I have a mouse? No, don't get a mouse. The bottom, it'll come out of this percentage over here. Well, the order can change, and you can flip them, but you can think of it that way. Yes. Did you have to answer that? Exactly. Yeah, and the only nuance has been there could be multiple receiver lines. Actually, that goes into this really right here. So in this one, you're taking half the funds of this channel, putting it into 2 other channels, and the fee is taken out of the funds generally. So that's 50% of the funds minus the fee for both of them. Yes. Go. Oh, I got to repeat the questions. Oh, we missed so many. They asked really good questions, and I don't remember what they were. Yes. 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 Yeah. Right, so the question is hard to repeat, but he's basically saying that it's a little confusing because here on this example, we're taking 50% of the funds out of the channel, 100% of that 50% goes down there, and here we're taking 50% of the channel, then 50% of that goes into that, 50% of that. So the way I would think of it is try to think of it as we're taking half those channel funds, and they just go into this magical general script funds area. And then totally separately, the bottom two lines are taking half of that. Yeah, well, is the top line special in the script? I mean, there'll be some more examples that maybe make that more clear. Yes? Yes, I think actually that translates. Oh, the question is it good to think of these as forming inputs and outputs to a transaction? So the top line would be an input to a transaction, bottom lines would be outputs. And yes, that's absolutely almost precisely how you can think of it, yeah. There's a couple corner cases, but that's basically what happens. Well, the question is go over all the corner cases. Well, we got some more coming. There's an unnecessary complex script at the end. We can go through that one. I'm glad you're excited about it. That's it, yeah. It is pretty straightforward. I'm glad that you can pick it up simply. He's just saying that it's too simple, and he wants to do more complex. Okay, so now this is the same example as the last one, but instead of dividing it over 2 channels, we're doing it over 3. And you might notice these numbers don't actually add up to 100%. In this case, we'd be losing 1% of the funds. So we have a special way to make that easier, and you just put a little star, and that says divide all these funds up among everything else using a star. Yes? If it messes up, does it yell at you, go to the minors? Well, first it tells your girlfriend, if you have one. No, generally it goes through a whole compilation phase, and if there's any obvious errors, it'll stop you there. And it is recommended that you do a dry run of the script. So this is where you put it in, it will process the script and then tells you what it thinks that will do. And you should always do that first and verify that it's doing what you expect. Yes? It would go to the mining fee in this case, yeah. And this doesn't lose that. Yes?
Fractions or no?
Fractions are coming, but only for your node, and we're not going to allow you to use percentages.
Okay, so you don't like asterisk slash this or some arbitrary fraction if you want to put it like.
No, not currently. I mean, we could talk about that, adding it. It's extensible. I don't know who'd want that. Maybe you want that, so maybe other people do too. Yeah, PR welcome. Yeah. Yeah, you can always be explicit that way. Yeah, he said you could always be explicit by actual amounts. You could multiply your fraction by the amount of sats yourself, and then do it that way. You can also do anyway. Yeah, you can also do like decimals on the percentage, a little more precise. But and then you can also add a fourth one. So this is taking the funds, dividing it out, splicing it into 4 channels. Right. Point being is the asterisk allows you to do a bunch of those. The other thing we've added to the Splice script is new format specifiers. So we have the standard ones on the bottom there, SAT, BDC, but we also added M and K, which is kind of how you see it more in common written usage on like Twitter and stuff. So you can do, thousands of sats or millions of sats. And that ends up, you've been seeing me use the K so far, but M and other stuff exists. I'm excited about those. And I think they make the scripts look prettier. Like if you go back to one of these, like that looks a lot prettier to me than actually typing out 10,000 in numbers. And I like things being pretty. And hopefully people will use it more if it's pretty. Let's pretend yes. So what's I don't actually understand the question. Is it following a Bolt 11 encoding? It's not using Bolt 11 for anything. All of these, all of these numbers just get parsed. He's asking if it's like a Bolt 11 encoding. These just get parsed once, and they're stored as sats internally. So they're only ever parsed, turned into sats, and internally it's just sats. But this is like a convenience for writing out stuff. Oh, really?
That's why we have the SI divided into
Ah, oh, interesting. Oh, interesting. So no, we're not doing that. Yeah, Perl request. That's a tongue twister. PR request encouraged, but it'll probably be ignored. No. We also have this thing of like people like to refer to channels by their peer identifiers, which is a challenge as a Lightning developer. But there's a syntax for what are called channel queries. And here we have a peer at this address, 03 something, or that's their public key. And we're indexing which channel we have with this guy. So say we got 3 channels with this guy. This allows us to put 10,000 sats on all 3 channels. And the colon puts an index. So if you look closely, you'll see a colon there and a 0. That's the first channel with that guy. And then the second, third. So this is just saying for each peer, for this peer, we're going to get those 3 channels, put 10K sats in. Anyone confused by that? Hopefully it's colons can be array lookups. Great. Awesome. Just now to confuse you a little more, instead of doing numbers, we can do a question mark, which just says the next unused channel for that peer. So these sort of get consumed. So this and this end up being the same thing, but the question mark makes it a little easier to specify. And then we can condense this script even more using another fancy operator with the asterisks. And this says to go to that peer and get every single channel that peer has. So all 3 of these are exactly the same script, but this one's a little shorter, which is nice. Okay, any questions? Yes. If you don't have enough sats, the script will fail and tell you, should tell you how many sats you're short. It'll fail. Yeah. The thing is, you don't actually know how many sats you have in a channel until you freeze the channel. It's a moving target, right? So at any point that could change. HTLC can go through. So what the Splice solver does is it first freezes all the channels with the SDFU command, and then gets the actual balance available in each one, and then checks it then. And at that point, if you don't have enough, it'll then abort the whole thing. Yes? So the question is, does each Splice script refer to a single Bitcoin transaction? Yes. And the idea is every one of these would be a single Bitcoin transaction. Exactly. So if you're doing splice from 3 channels to 3 channels, you're doing it all in one batch. And that's the idea. Like here we're doing 5 splices in this one script, but it's all bundled into one transaction. And hopefully that kind of shows some of the elegance of this. It gets really easy to bundle a whole bunch of stuff into one transaction. It's sort of like, it's easier to do it that way than not almost, which is sort of the goal to encourage people to do it. Any more questions on that? Yes. Yeah, the question is the asterisk mean all channels related to this peer? Absolutely, yeah. It'll pull 10K from each one. So these 2 are identical. I don't know if it's the best example you'd want to do. It's more just illustrating the thing. The next example is one you might more practically want to do. So let's just jump over to there. I might answer your question. Okay, so here's an example that's kind of fun, as we're using 2 asterisks now. And if you look at these, what they're doing is they're saying, so we already know the asterisk after the colon means every channel for that peer. On the left side, it means every one of my peers. So with this 2-line, we've taken 100,000 sats from our wallet, and we've spliced it into every single channel we have. So if you have like a dozen channels, this will splice it over all the channels that you possibly have, which is probably a more interesting use case than just one node. Question is, why would you do this? Well, I mean, how else are we going to get a girlfriend unless we do cool stuff like this? It gives you a tool that you can use for silliness or for serious stuff. You can always just specify the channel identifier. That's the simplest way. But doing it through peers is possible too. So on the top line, he's asking about, I'm just going to explain it because on the top line, we have the wallet on the left of the air. It's pointing out to the right. We're withdrawing 100,000 sats from the wallet. And on the next line, we're saying 100% of whatever there is, which is going to be 100K minus the fee. We're going to put all of that into this funky star colon star. Yes, if you have 5 channels, it evenly distributes to those 5 channels. Exactly. Yeah. You could also go the other way if you wanted to splice out of all of your channels. So in this example, we've moved it around. So now the fancy star colon star is on the left, and we're taking out half the capacity from every channel on our node, and then we're depositing it into the wallet. Okay, any questions on that? Because we're going to start getting more complex here. So I want to make sure everyone's feeling comfortable. Yes? Yes. The question is, are we talking about our side of the channel? And absolutely. These are just the funds on your side. The funds on the other side aren't your funds. You don't really have access to them. But we will talk about the other side a little bit in the next slide. Fun enough. Any more questions before we get to the complex stuff? Yes. The colon separator, whenever there's a colon, the left side is a node identifier and the right side is a channel index. So when you do star star, you're saying all nodes, all channels. It's just a general wildcard. Give me everything. Okay, now we're going to the complex. Any more questions before the complex stuff? I'll hide the complex slide. For every line, one identifier is a channel identifier, and the other one is an amount. Well, we have that example back here. This is single node, all channels on that node. So the identifier of the channels on the left, 03, whatever, is a node identifier. And then with colon, it means all the channels for that node. But when you replace the 03 with an asterisk, okay, all right. The question was, please ignore me. No, Toodle's great. Okay, so any other questions? All right, we're going to complex stuff. All right, here is a really fun example, I think, is a balanced splice in. So we have a channel that already exists. This channel identifier is 8338 something. And we want to put 10 million sats into that channel, but we want our peer to also put in 10 million sats. So hopefully the first part of this should be recognizable if you ignore this part. Hopefully, you should understand the rest, right? So we're taking 10 million sats and we're putting all of it into that channel. But this new part is a lease request. So we're requesting that our channel peer put in 10 million sats and we'll pay to lease their liquidity. So the net result of this should be both you and your peer putting in 10 million sats into the channel. Yes, this only works for peers that are running liquidity ads. Yeah, this is kind of future-y stuff, but you should never actually do this because your peer might charge any percentage on that, right? So you want to add a limit on how much you're willing to pay. So we do that with more symbols. And here we have at 1%. And what this means is you will lease 10 million sats as long as it costs you 1% fee or less. You'll take the smaller amount of that. If it's over 1%, then you'll abort the splice. Any questions on this? Yes. The question is, does your peer know what your max is? And no, you keep that super secret. Yeah, that's why you don't live stream when you're working on your Lightning node. They'll know. Yes? But no questions. Okay. Yes. The question is 1% for the lease fee? Yes. It's your max lease fee that you're willing to pay. is a percentage of the 10 million you're asking them to add in. Any more questions? Okay. You can also do this weird thing where you don't put in anything. And this is actually a lease-only request. So we're putting in zero, splicing in 0 sats, and we're like, yo, channel peer, you put in money. I don't want to put any money in. And this is how you would make a lease request for them to put in 10 million sats. But again, there's a problem with this script. There's a reason you shouldn't do it. Can anyone know what that is? Limit the fees, yes. Reardon code is right. We've got to limit the fees. Because you don't want to be reckless, if you don't care. Yes. Not yet. Coming soon, TM. 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Okay, so that's lease-only requests. This one also doesn't work for another reason. Can anyone guess what that is? There's no output close, but not it. It doesn't specify a peer. Well, the channel identifier will have a peer on it. There's no on-chain fee. Your code gets it again. There's actually no fee here, right? And as you were requesting a lease, you have to pay the on-chain fee. So there's this crazy trick we can do where we splice out 0 sats plus whatever the fee is. And what's cool about this is we end up adding no inputs or outputs to the transaction. This will take just the old channel funding, put it into the new channel funding. The fee will come out of our balance, and it's up to our peer to add their funds however they do. So this is, I think, a particularly elegant way to really save on inputs and outputs. It does look wonky, though, but it's cool on the inside. All right, any questions on that? Great. All right, another example. This is not actually implemented yet, but it's coming. This is if you wanted to say splice out 500,000 sats and then open a new channel with a peer. This is how this looks like. So this would probably be a pretty common thing where, and today a lot of these node operators store a lot of funds on chain, just waiting for an opportunity to open a channel. And with splicing, we had a great opportunity to say, no, store it in a Lightning channel. And then when you want to open a channel, just splice out into the channel open directly. And this allows you to keep your funds not sitting around being wasted. So this example, we have a channel already. We take out 500,000 sats, and we dump it all into a new channel with the peer that starts with 0346. Make sense? I want to tick silence as a yes. Got one head nod. I'll take it. All right, and now combining that all together, making it complex. Now we're splicing out to a new balance channel. So we're doing the same thing. We're taking out the fee. We're also leasing 500,000 sats at 1% from the peer. Take a moment to read it. Do you guys? So who here can read this and understand what it says? Oh, I'm not going to. Oh, I got some half hands. We got one solid hand. All right, why don't I slow down and go through it a little bit? Okay, so here we have a channel that we already have on our node. And we're going to take out, because of this arrow, 500,000 sats. And additionally, we're going to also extract whatever the on-chain fee is required. So this top line should be pretty recognizable. This is a splice out. I got to be in range of the mic here. This is a splice out of 500,000 sats plus the fee. And we leave 500,000 sats that are usable elsewhere on the script. So they're just kind of floating around there. Down here, when we say 100%, we're taking those 500,000 sats that are floating around and saying, take all of them and put them into this next line, whatever that line does. And it's easier to ignore this section for now. Follow the arrow. We're saying, okay, we have this peer here, and we want to open a channel with them. So we combine the splice out of 500,000 sats plus the 100% going to this open channel command. Hopefully that's clear that we're splicing out 500,000 and opening a channel in one transaction. That's the goal of this, right? Which I think we actually covered over here. It was a little simpler. Yeah, that's this. Yes. Yep. He's just saying this is cool, I think. Is it? Oh, it looks like the fanciest script he's ever seen. No. So we've added this section to this slide, and this is our lease operator. And the idea is, left of the pipe is the funds we're adding, right of the pipe is the funds we want the other side to add. So we're requesting they add 500,000 sats, and we want the fee they charge us to be less than 1% for doing that. So this is how we open a new channel. For it'd be 1 million sats, half on each side. Be a little less because of you'll pay that 1% fee. It'll go over there. It will be 1 million sats, but you'll have a little bit less than 0.5, and they'll have a little bit more for the fee you paid. Okay. Any questions on this? Oh, there's actually so the question is the fee in the channel. There's two fees. The one is the on-chain fee, which is going to miners. Just through your channel. Yeah. Yeah. So what happens is, just to explain what he got is, so we're putting in 500,000 sats here, and then 1% of that gets immediately pushed over to the channel peer to pay them for giving us their liquidity. Okay. Any questions? Any more questions on that? Okay. Who gets this script now? Oh, more hands. Yes. Yes. That's great. Okay, this one should be a lot simpler, but it's a really cool one, I think. This is an externally funded channel. So this is just opening up a channel for who knows how much with this channel up here. And the idea is when you use this, you bring your own PSBT. It's like a BYOP, I guess. And you'd bring a PSBT with some funds in it from somewhere. And then this script will then merge it with the channel open, and then you guys both sign the resulting PSBT. So this is a simpler script, but I think quite powerful for that problem we were talking about earlier. There's a lot of people that are moving their funds to their Lightning on-chain wallet, and then from there into a channel. And this makes it happen in one hop, which is better for everyone. Oh, he's saying I'm pragmatically helping with dual-funded channels. Yes, absolutely. Once they implement it, yeah. So this is okay. Now we have that example down. Now we're going to add a liquidity lease to it, just because we're going through the complex stuff. We're getting used to it. Same thing, but we just added a liquidity lease for 500,000 sats from our channel peer. So now we're getting a balanced channel funded from some external source, right? So the way this might work is you have like your cold storage device on using a desktop or some kind of software, wallet software. You would get funds out of there, build a transaction with that, PSBT it over to here. It would send the result back to you, sign it with your hardware device, and then send it back. It's 2 hops. And then you have your balanced funded channel. All right. Any questions about any of that? Okay. Final chance. All right. So all of this means that we can merge all of this stuff together, leading to a utopia where we get everything done with less transactions. You know, one day we'll have like 2 transactions per block or something. That won't be that many, but. All right. Okay. So we got one more example that I want you to prepare yourself for. You know, if you don't feel technical, maybe shield your eyes. You know, look away. We're going to go through one big example, and this is important because the goal of this is to be able to do big lots of stuff that will get automatically merged into a transaction. That is the ultimate goal. So the easier we make this script stuff, the more likely people, I believe, are to merge their stuff into one. All right, we got this big example. Do we have a volunteer that wants to tell me what the first line does? Okay, so the first line, you get 100 million Bitcoin. It's close. 100 million sats. Yes. Okay, and where do those funds go? Well, it's kind of a trick question. Yeah, it's the general script funds. They're floating in the script. I call them the general script funds, GSF. Yeah. The Splice budget. Yes, I like that. All right, who wants to answer what the second line does? Yes. Perfect. Take half of whatever's in that next line channel is what he said. Yep. Yes, and add it all to the general fund. Boom. So GSF has 100 million plus whatever half of that channel capacity was. All right, who wants to answer the third line? This is a complex one. Yes.
From your side of the general fund, you take general steps, and from a liquidity end, you take general steps to the maximum. You delete that for the
I love it. Yes, I said well killed it. So he said, I'm repeating that's going to be hard. Okay. So you're going to put 10 million sats into this channel and also request 10 million sats from your channel peer with a max fee of 1% going into the channel identified on the right, 09 AD. I love it. All right, who wants to answer the fourth line? Yes. Same thing would open a new channel. Yep. Yep, you can almost copy paste it. Okay, and then we got the fourth line. Anyone, a new person want to try to answer this one? Yes. Peer ID. Has to be a peer ID for open channel. It's a great question. Question is that fourth line a peer ID or a channel ID? That's a peer ID because you don't have a channel with them yet. All right, who wants to answer the fifth line? Yes. Yes, she said take 3 million from the general funds, put them in that specific channel. Love it, killing it. Anyone else want to guess the next line? Yes. Donate 1 million Satoshis to Satoshi, which is correct because this is a Bitcoin address, but it happens to be one of Satoshi's addresses. So this puts 1 million sats in that. It's a tongue twister. All right, who wants to guess the next line? Oh, yes. And it's good because it's kind of a trick question because he's saying whatever's left in the splice divided up by these two channels. Which is exactly right. So the stars mean whatever's left, put half of it in this channel, half of it in that channel. So great. We got it. Yes. Ordering only matters for the channel queries. The star ordering doesn't matter. No. Yes, exactly. Oh, so the question was, does ordering of stars matter? They don't matter. And then you're saying you execute everything and then the stars last, which is correct. Yes. Oh, that is a great trick question in the script. Where are the fees? He's asking, do the fees get paid by Satoshi? Like, poor Satoshi's getting less sats. Do you want to answer, Tidwell? Tidwell says, I think they get deducted from the stars. That's exactly right. So all the funds go in the general script funds, and whenever you have a star or a percentage, the fees get taken before those get calculated. Yes. Yes. I plead the fifth. I refuse to answer. No, this is not a coin join. Something like a coin join. Yes. No. And I can't think of a use case. The question is, that's a great question, really. If you open a channel with that peer ID like we do on line 4 here, 0346, can you then reference that channel again elsewhere in the script? And the answer is you can't. And I'm trying to think, I don't think there'd be a use case for that, because if you're opening a channel, you wouldn't then want to splice into it in the same transaction. It would break a lot of things, but I don't think there's any real value in it, right? Because you should just change the funding amount for whatever you were going to splice it for. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, so what he's saying is they're all netted. If you reference a channel 3 times, each pulling out 10K sats, it'll just merge it into one 30K sat withdrawal. Yeah, and it should be merged. I don't know if the code does it today, but it should, or at least it should error, one of the two. He's saying if you reference the channel twice for 2 different splices in a SpliceScript, they should get merged. Similarly, like if you reference the wallet multiple times, that should get merged, right? Like if you are wallet funding into the general funds and wallet funding out, it just subtracts the two. Like whatever, either more funds come in or more come out, and it just does that one. Yes. It's a great question. So she's asking if there's an error, like say you don't have enough funds, will it execute to that line and then tell you, or will it abort the entire thing? And it will abort the entire thing and tell you why it aborted it. Yes. The bottom two lines here? Yeah, exactly. They're just like, they end up being a percentage that takes whatever is left over. We don't even know what that amount is, but put it in these channels. Yes? This is a great question. Should you do a dry run? And absolutely, there's a dry run flag that you should always pass in when you build these scripts, and it gives you this description of what it thinks you should do, which actually will come up in 2 slides, although we're short on time. Correct. No, that'd be more of a wet run. No. All right. Any more questions on this? Okay, I want to show you. Okay, I want to show you an unnecessarily complex example. We're not going to go through it, but this is one to test you. It's actually straight from the unit test. Purposely trying to do obscure, broken-looking things that are technically valid. But you can see on line 4, it's taking money from a wallet. It's doing all kinds of channel queries down here. It's using full channel identifiers here, short ones over there, and it's just purposely trying to confuse you. Oh, yeah, so we didn't go over semicolon. That's a great catch. You can use semicolons or new lines. They do the same thing. And if you're trying to use it on a command line, semicolons are a little easier to use. Yes? Question mark it's for the channel index on a node. It's the next unused channel, right? So if I have three channels with one peer, the question mark is just give me whatever the next one is that I haven't already referenced in the script. If you just say the node, this was your question on the PR, wasn't it? I remember now. You were saying you wanted to have just node identifier with nothing else, have it find the one channel, which that's a good to do. Anyway, I feel like I'm probably over time, so I'm going to speed up a little bit. Here is a dry run, what you get if you dry run that script, to give you a sense of it. And what the compiler does is tells you what it thinks should happen. So you should run a dry run whenever you do one of these. And so it's just saying in bulk, it's trying to withdraw. You can see the wallet withdrawal. That's probably an easy one. On line 3.5 there is wallet withdrawal 1 million. You can see right there, wallet withdrawal 1,000 sats. And all of this should match what you expect. So when you build these things, you definitely run a dry run first to make sure it looks correct. And I will speed up. We can skip over. Okay, I should touch this. There's some future work after the SpliceScript stuff where I want to do, I want to call it transaction intention language, TIL for short. And this is going to be a merging of SpliceScript plus delayed actions. So instead of saying do it right now, we're going to say I want this thing done in the next 3 months, ideally at this fee rate, at most at this fee rate kind of thing. And this will go into a time solver that can basically, the reason you need this is in order to merge transactions, if everybody's doing them what they want to do right away, there's less opportunities to merge. But a lot of things can be done over time. So if I can do it any time in the next 3 months, I can wait for somebody else who's doing one, add it to it whenever they come through, say in a month. And so this is like a future design goal language to coordinate that. And it's not a coin join. It's just a thing that helps you do things, maybe like coin joins. But anyways, ignore that slide. The goal is to build, I haven't started it yet, but the goal hypothetically of the till is to make it so we can describe all transactions that happen through intentions, moving away from building transactions to describing transaction intentions so they can go into solvers that may be across multiple nodes and places, and they can be merged into large transactions that are harder to track. And there's me. Thank you. Thanks. Did you have one more question? It's a plugin in CLN, a default plugin. It comes by default with CLN. A PR Bitcoin Core? Yeah, absolutely. No. Yes.
Did you, when you first coming up with the idea for this language model for splicing, did you consider at first trying to PR manuscript?
Oh, the question is, did I first consider using manuscript for this? And absolutely, it just wasn't as big enough. MacroScript maybe could pull it off, but any more questions? All right, thank you so much.